It's Sunday. You know what that means. It's a Cutlass video. And I actually just got back because right now my time filming this is actually Sunday. Because I just got back from Charlotte, where I actually had some plans up there with my girlfriend, or she had some plans. We looked at the dates and it just happened to line up with the NHRA 4-wide. And hopefully you guys have already seen on Clay's channel that he runnered up at the 4-wides and 337.92 miles an hour in the finals. I believe that's the best for him. Huge congrats to Clay for that. And I hope to see them fighting for the championship at the end of this year. And I'm still excited about that, so you guys get to hear about it. But go check out Clay's channel. Do me a favor, go check out Clay's channel. Subscribe to his channel. Subscribe to my channel if you don't mind, if you haven't already, please. Anyways, it's Cutlass video. And I gotta decide what I'm gonna do today. Just got here. See, it's kind of dark outside. But just got here, and it's time to get to work. Let's get to work. All right, I've made a decision. So for today, first thing I'm going to do is go from here to the corner of this bend right here. And then once I do that, I'm gonna move back to the back here and do the hoop that goes around to the back, and then maybe we'll drop some verticals down onto some part of that part right there, like the extension of the upper bars. So before I do that, probably get in here and clean up this a little bit, just so that it's I want to tuck the bar up pretty close to it, because I might drop a screw hole through here to sturdy that up, because that's not cool. So that's my plan. And I'm gonna get to chopping and cutting on some tube, and you can see even with the air conditioning in here, it's kind of started to rust in some spots. And some of that may be the sweat and like the oils off my hands. Like when I really get to working, get a little sweaty, leaves that on the car, because that kind of looks like maybe a handprint, maybe a thumbprint over there to the side. I don't know. I'm going to polish that off too before the end of the day. And then you can actually see where my the center of the rear end mark is on the frame right there. Which there's nothing that's going to be right there. But the shocks are going to be behind that. Well, the shocks are going to be right here. And I'm gonna try and make sure there's some cross bracing there, as well as bring an X down eventually from, so we'll have the hoop that goes around the back low, and then it'll get tied into from the top, you know, something like that. And then I'll probably do a smaller bar with an X in the middle that's going to support the anti-roll bar. So I did that on Valerie and Steve Morris's car. You can see, so this is the mount for the anti-roll bar. Lots of triangulation. You can see that nice, like it's triangulated from the bottom. It's mounted right to the frame rail, like the main frame rail, which then ties into the shocks. You can see we did the custom insert here as well, like we did on the Cutlass last video. But it is offset and tapped ½ inch. So we use the lathe to offset the insert into the frame. You can see that one's a little thicker. She's got a little over ½ inch of thread engagement there. And that mounts the shocks real solid right to the frame. Might do an X like this X up in here on mine. I don't know, but kind of see the same deal. Actually, the same deal up there in the front too, with the diagonal supports, and then the supports down to the off the dash bar down to the top of the motor plate. Mid plate, not the motor plate. Motor plate's at the front of the engine. So, anyways, I'm gonna stop running my mouth and put the camera down. Well, set it up to video me, and then I'm gonna get to work. Yep. All right, so I'm gonna try and do another voiceover for the time lapse here. Actually, we are riding down the road heading back from Indy, which is only a few hours before this video is going to post, but hopefully the background noise isn't too bad, and it makes it to where it's kind of annoying to listen to with the background road noise. But anyways, you can see we're doing some measuring, working on cutting some pipe or some tubing to connect the dash bar and the dash bar support corner joint down to the mid plate. And these bars are not a part of the SFI spec. It's just a bar that's over and above. So I am using an 1 1/8 058 wall tubing. It's been a week basically since I did this, so I have forgotten exactly what size I used, but I'm pretty sure it was 1 1/8 058. That is a bar size that is used, or a tubing size that is used in some parts of the 25.3, 25.2, and 25.1 chassis spec. So I use some of it because we've got a rack full of it over there. You can see I did the little paper trick for getting the other side, because this gusset that comes down at 45 degrees, I actually have it to where it's half landing on that vertical bar, as well as half landing, well, approximately half landing on the dash bar as well. So it just adds a whole lot of meat to that corner gusset, that corner joint. At least that's kind of my thought. And also from that corner gusset area there, or the intersection point of the dash bar and the vertical bar, obviously the bars that are going to come down and connect to the roof bar will land there, but there will also be bars that go forward out to the front frame rails in the car. So we're polishing up the tube now because it's really nice to weld clean metal, and the tubing comes with kind of a mill scale. At least that's what I've always heard it called. It's kind of that gray color. It actually keeps it from rusting as bad, but it leaves a little bit of trash, I guess you could say, in the weld when you're welding it. So I like to clean that off so I have a perfect weld. Well, at least I have my best chance at a perfect weld, let's say that. So that way it's not, floating any debris or mill scale in the puddle when I am liquefying the metal to then add my filler rod. I still want to work out some kind of attachment so that you guys will actually be able to see some of the welding procedure up close. I'm sure there's some kind of thing out there that, because I've seen on some welding channels on YouTube, those guys have some kind of apparatus that makes it to where they can see the weld really good or the camera can see the really good in the videos. But we've got an example here also of some of the positions you have to get in to weld some of these bars in, and sometimes it's a little tough, but we make it happen the best we can and try to do what we can do to get the bars fully welded all the way around. All right, well, we are back in the shop the next day. I kind of was out of gas at the end of filming those mid-plate support bars in, but they're completely welded down there, which you hopefully saw in the time lapse. I've got a little bit to do up here behind this junction right there, and we're going to get to that. I don't like leaving any bar that's not completely welded all the way around when I'm doing chassis work, even if it means I have to cut a hole in the body, which it's been a while since we've had to do that. But kind of thinking that we're going to have to come at this from kind of a weird place anyway, but you can maybe see up in there right at the very top, like it's got just a little bit left to do. And I could probably get through that and weld it because you can see it. But I know I'm going to be cutting this out anyway, and probably I might be replacing this as well as the firewall. I don't know, even this is bad. Like there's a hole there. Like, see that? See that hole right there? We've got some figuring out to do right there. But whatever I do there will give me access to the front side of that to go and weld it. So I think I'm gonna scrap the idea of doing the rear tube for now, because we should go ahead and do roof bar in this thing. I've already got the bender set up for 1 5/8. I've already got the notcher set up for 1 5/8. And it would, like, yeah, just let's go ahead and get that cage work done all throughout the top there. So I may have to do a little trimming in here depending on how I end up bringing that bar out, and probably cut these off. But we'll mock up something. I'll go grab a piece of scrap and see what it looks like I can do to turn the bar in right there. And then we will make a main hoop. And I think or not a main hoop, I think I'm gonna do a hoop on the top and then tie into it from the dash bar up to that hoop. Yeah. Yep, I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna get to doing, because that's what needs to be done. Yeah, okay. Let's get to work. Well, back for another time lapse. We're still on the road, driving home from Indy, driving through some absolutely wonderful roads. I guess we're a little spoiled in Florida. Our roads are mostly pretty nice, but we don't have all the really cold temperatures that you guys have to deal with up here. But anyways, so you can see now I am using a test piece that I've had for a while that's got almost a 90 on one end and then a 45 on the other end. And I'm just kind of trying to get a little bit of an idea of what I think is going to work when it comes to the bends that are going to end up being that final bend that turns down into the main hoop. It's just kind of a data point, and I'm putting the seat in, getting the seat where it's going to be in relation to the transmission tunnel that's obviously yet to be built into the car. And I do plan to do a double frame rail in this car, just like we did in the Val and Steve Morris Camaro. But that tunnel has a certain width, and then the Racetech seat has a certain width, and the car has a certain width, so I have to make all of that stuff work together. I want to put myself as close to the transmission tunnel as I can to keep the weight more centered in the car and to keep me in from the outside edge of the car. Just gives a little more room for, let's say, some impact absorption if we ever need to have some room for that, which is also another reason why I like the Racetech seats. They are very, very supportive to your entire body, not like the aluminum seats that, just like the non-containment aluminum seats. The containment aluminum seats are a lot better, like what's in Mullet, what's going to be in Steve and Val's car. That kind of containment seat is okay, the aluminum, but the Racetechs I think are an even higher level of safety over the aluminum seats. Like, the Racetechs are just awesome. If you can swing a Racetech, get a Racetech. But anyways, one of my least favorite things to do when it comes to building and fabricating on cars is cutting and grinding like I'm having to do right now to clearance some extra, clearance the roof a little bit more for fitting the roof halo in. And just, all the grinding and stuff that goes on in the car, it ends up burning your skin and getting spots all over your skin. Or you end up wearing sleeves, and then the sleeves, you get hot because you're grinding, making heat there. And, we've got the air conditioning running pretty good in the shop, but the colder we run it, the more expensive it gets on my wallet. So we don't run it super, super cold in the shop. All right, well, after quite a bit of grinding and cutting, then grinding and making a mess, and which I still need to go clean up, but making a mess out there and doing some measuring, we've got us a rough sketch of the tube we need to make. And we want to be maximum of 46.25 on the width, and that's like really tucking it up in there, and then 32.5 this way. And where my tubes are going to touch is actually going to be about 40.75, I believe. You can kind of read my writing there. So we're going to go to our bin tech program. Let's see how close we can get this thing. And we've got 4 bins. I think I can make this work with this. Go select our die set, our material, then our die. And we'll go to outside dimension, so we get that right. 46.25. What in the world? Let's say that's 46.25 also. Oh boy. We want it to be 40.75, but that's actually we're in the middle of where it's going to touch to the bar, so let's see, plus let's go plus 3/4. That would be 41.5. I'm going to try a little guesstimation here. Alright, well, let's add that one in. Total 32.5. Well, and 28. Hey, there we go. That's something we can work with. So that's got some dimensions that looks like we might be able to do. But actually, you know what? I should change that length too, because with this corner being angled in, that's technically not the distance I need to measure. So I'm going to add a 1/2 inch to that. 33 inches. Why is that? Okay, yeah, we're going back to 90. Okay. All right, well, let's verify. And what I want to do is first we'll measure from the top here. Let's zoom out a little bit. All right, so we're measuring from the very top down to 32.5. All right, so that puts it kind of, it's not going to take a lot of notch here, because we're fitting it up to an 1 5/8 bar. I might want it a little bit longer there just so I've got some to grind off, but you can basically see that's the height we want to be at, so I'll click that to give me my height reference. And now we'll measure from the center, which I definitely need to make this leg a little longer, I think, so that I can notch into this tube and still get the dimension that I need to get. And we're only at 40.2 basically, and I want 40.75. So, anyway, let's put 1 inch on here, a little bit of trial and error. And let's lengthen that as well. Go back to verify. There's one other little thing that's got to be done here. I messed up. Okay, 32. Alright, that actually is quite a bit different. So that's now 32 and that height. So now let's go across there. 41. That's a little over quarter inch off. Let's try that. You can tell I'm kind of winging this a little bit, but that's just how I do it. It's what works for me, so that's what I'm doing. Alright, from the top, 32. Yep. Now I'll go from the notch. I kind of think that's probably close enough. I mean, we're nitpicking 100, well, 200 thousandths. Kind of think that's probably good enough. So, one thing that I've got to do here and make sure I don't screw up, that being negative right there means I would have to put my clamp block over here. So what I need to do is add at least 2 inches to all of these numbers so that I can start this bend accurately. But then when I get over here, this is too short to work in the die. So what I'm actually going to do is go start with pretty much a full length stick. And then I'm going to add 2 inches to all of these numbers, and then when it gets to where it looks good, I'm gonna just cut it off. Like after I make the bend, I'll measure down to get my 32.5 inch, you know, from the top, and then we'll slice it off and then fit it to the top. And then once we do that, we can do the bars from the dash bar up to that, and then that's all we're gonna do today. Hopefully. Got to go get to work on some other cars out there. So let's go chop it up and see if we can make it work. we've got something to work with, but we're not done. So, see, we got her tucked up in there nice and tight. You can see it. But because nobody makes a notcher that will notch on a curve, these two notches on both sides have to be kind of hand done with the grinder. And everything's tight enough that, you know, I've just barely got it tucked in here. So basically what I've got to do is just hand notch this all tighter so that I can then get it welded in. But I don't have time to do that right now. I already have too long in making that bar because, little secret behind the scenes situation, I missed on the first bar because I missed the bend line. I had drawn all my lines on my tube to bend it, and I got to the last bend for, you know, let's say that that last bend, and I had also put a mark of where the cut line should be. Well, when I was bending, I guess the previous bend to that one, it kind of wiped off the mark. It was still there, but it was kind of faded, and I saw the mark for the cut line. I did not label it as much as I should have, so I set the bender up on the cut line, and so then my bend started way back there instead of starting right there. So, screwed up, cost me the tubing, which I'll be able to use most of the tubing for other projects. You know, just cut out the straight sections and use it for different pieces here and there throughout the car. But it still was a waste of time and effort, and, you know, a problem with me getting this done in the time that I needed to get it done, because I really need to be working on that today. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna wrap up this video, which the video on the Camaro has probably already come out, because, you know, the Cutlass videos are my Sunday videos. And yesterday, well, no, Sunday minus Saturday minus Friday, so a day and a half ago, 2 days ago from when this video actually comes out, we ran the Indy 800 at Cletus and Cars Indy at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Hopefully we did well. I'd be really happy with the top 5. Top 3 would be awesome. Another win, over the top. It's gonna be tough though, which who knows how things have shaken down. If you watch the race, you guys already know, but I'm talking in the past about the future, but the future right now will actually be the past by the time this video comes out. Woo, talk about a little bit of mind-bending thought process there. Anyways, hopefully we did well. We'll leave it at that. But appreciate everybody watching, subscribing, following along, commenting down there in the comment section. Without you guys being a part of this journey, it might be another 10 years before we actually got the Cutlass done. So, see you guys next time.